the usual countdown we have, which
Oh, thank
30,
God.
from 30 down with all the cringe boomer music. We're live. Hello, everyone. Hello. And
Hello.
tonight we are joined with Rad AI Gaster Brown. I forgot to change it from the Tolkien stream because I'm an idiot. And we've also got Mesian Chicago, also known as
Also known as like 5 other people. Don't
yes,
worry
like
about it.
Hopian Chicago. Yeah, you know him.
Papa
You know his
Enjoyer.
voice by now.
Yeah.
You know who he is. And then of course we got Mr. Rockman himself, Harry Gladive. How are you, sir?
The supreme simp commander. Yeah, what up, my drillers? I hope you're all doing well today.
Yeah. And oh boy, have we got a stream tonight. I was actually thinking about changing one of the things because I know I've been informed about all this internet drama that's been going on.
So what happened to the other American? Did we shoot him?
He's currently at work, which from what I understand though, I don't know where he works. Anyway,
he works in New York. I just know that.
Is it cringe by any chance?
Yes, it is cringe,
yeah, it is.
And he works in New York. So he did say that he may hop on his commute home, which means he might be stabbed, he might be robbed. I don't think he's Asian though, so he should be okay.
He's part
he's
Jew.
really into Asian people.
Yeah, he's part Jew, I believe, so he might get kicked in the head by.
He's part Jew, so they're not going to touch him.
No, they're not going to touch him. And
what
the hell is going on in America? Every single like video I see of like inner city, it's like the 52%ers like literally order 60-60 the Asians. Like, what the hell's going on there? They flipped a switch on them or something.
Well, I can tell you that in Chicago, everything is fine other than black people shooting each other, but who cares?
Okay, fair enough.
Frankly, who cares?
I just want to say hello to El Nino, Right Honourable Fairs, Make Me American, Voice of Prospero. Welcome all, and welcome all people who are watching live and be watching it soon after. And also that crime guy, hello, thank you. So tonight's stream, we're going to talk about 3 topics. One of which is just a bit of a random one I thought would be fun to talk about. But the first one, it's going to be the fallout from the Tolkien Society stream that we did, because that was
hilarious.
It was hilarious. Well, hello, Mogut as well. Hello, thank you for joining us. So with that being said, Hayran, have you actually watched that stream on Powers In? I'll link below.
I watched it while I was very sleep deprived after I was looking after my sister's dog for the weekend. So I watched it, and I remember reading the tweets from the guy that was like, "Wow, these people don't know what they're talking about. Like, why they complain about women or something." And I'm like, I just remember him talking about something completely different to what you were actually talking about. It's like, oh, they're just going about the Tolkien Society. It's like they mention it like twice. They actually talk about the book a lot more.
Yes. Yeah, we mentioned them, I think, only like in a couple of sentences, and then like most of it we were just talking about Christian symbolism within Tolkien's work, and we also talked about the Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe books as well. We C.S. Lewis. We also talked about that and his perspective on what sort of values should be putting in effectively children's work. What it came down to, and for some reason, and of course, Chicago Lib was with us, weren't you?
Yeah, I was.
You were with us.
I'm still getting like a chuckle after I made the comment that the Fellowship of the Ring is full of incels and it's pretty based.
There were a lot of memes that we got. And there was a lot of trolling as well. I mean, I remember all night just trolling them, and we literally had PhD and doctors just been completely degraded to pathetic children by four.
Well, I mean, they were responding to you and me, and we were both just making fun of them for responding to us.
Man, that sounds very similar to recent internet drama, I have to say.
But what was amazing was obviously it wasn't focused at the Tolkien Society at all. It was hello Richard. It wasn't based at them. It was predominantly based as a Guardian article, which was the whole thing about Sam and Frodo are a couple, and transgenderism within Gondor and all that sort of nonsense. And one of the things we were focusing on, and this is something that this is actually one thing they really got personal with when they were targeting us, was the first sentence in the book of the Fellowship. And there's one sentence where if you're people watching, or if you know Yorkshire quite well, or the North in particular, and maybe Hayran, you've heard this saying, it's there's now queer than folk. That's the saying. There's now queer than folk. And for people like the Americans here and other sort of losers worldwide who may not understand what that definition means, it basically means people can be strange. That's all it means. There are strangers, there's strange people about. You have
no idea how funny it was for me to just listen to the audiobook the first time and then just hear each other, and then just hear every single part of the Shire calling each other queer. Then it was just like, yeah, all these people are fags.
All of them. But this is the conclusion that Americanized people, and the reason I have to say America, because I can't, unfortunately, as much as I'd love to blame it on your country, Chicago, as much as I'd like to call for absolute fatwa against America, I can't in this incident, because a lot of it came from internationalist individuals in this country, in other parts of the Anglosphere, who are so heavily Americanized, they came to that same conclusion of, oh, it means queer. Oh, they must be talking about homosexuality and everything, not the 1950s, 40s and 50s definition of what queer was when the books were written in 1954. It was written, Lord of the Rings.
Pictures showing so much love to my country.
I literally, American imperialism is the biggest cancer this world has ever faced, and there's been a lot.
Nah, dudes, the biggest cancer is still the French.
You know what? I'm going to be unpopular, and I would say I'd rather have French hegemony than American.
No,
and that's controversial.
Here's the difference, though.
Hang on.
American politicians are supremely incompetent, so we don't even do that much with our hegemony. The French are competent, and they're gay, so they're just bad.
Well, the French are competent until there's a revolution there, and then they all die. So think about that.
Well, I mean, yeah, Harry, that's their only redeeming quality.
Well, they kill themselves. Based.
Yeah.
But hang on, no, I'd still rather have American hegemony than French hegemony, because Americans, the whole country is basically France with a bit of Britain mixed in, whereas France is just France, and that disgusts me and needs to be nuked off the planet. Think about it, AA. Jesus.
Think about it, AA. We don't have AA.
AI. Jesus. Here's the other one.
Yeah, don't stop mixing me up, you absolute driller. So I'm gonna. So what we had with the dislike unsub blocks reported.
Authorities noted
this would probably be my most downvoted stream. The other one was when me and someone back in the day, we did a dunk on Scottish nationalism and Irish and such, and Irish people, and the cringe boomer nationalists found us, and I don't know what's with Scottish nationalists. They type when they like the way that they pronounce their words, and I look at them. And I just think, what's wrong with you? Were you dropped on their head as a child or something? I don't understand.
Well, I mean, they're from Scotland, so the answer is yes.
Yeah, probably. Well, they probably had a shit ton of meth in them as well as babies. They're meth babies.
No,
so
that's
anyway,
American-born Scottish people.
Texans. We're going to get on to Texas actually in the second bit.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, because we need to talk about something. We're going to talk about the Democrats' Southern strategy, which is something I've noticed brewing in the works, and it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Take it back. I can't.
No compromise.
No compromise. So one of the biggest things, Hayran, that we had from this was the individuals who were targeted in question were coping really hard that we didn't have as many views as they did. Literally, it was us and it was like 10 other people watching. Now, people may not know this. With YouTube, especially with smaller channels, the YouTube streaming service can't actually project how many people are watching. So I've had it where we had, I think one of the largest ones we had, which was where Hayran, you were with us, with Carl Benjamin. It said there was about 90 people watching, and then as soon as I clicked the end, it then turned out it was like 300-400 people had watched it. You see, so with smaller channels, it's not 100% accurate, and that this was one of their biggest cope because it was like, oh, you only had 10 people watching, and then when POW ceased the stream, it then turned out there was first it was, I think it was 100, then it went to 200, then it went to 300, and then we actually surpassed the first day of the seminar. So they changed the goalpost and say, well, actually, no, that doesn't count. The whole entire seminar period that we had in that whole couple of days was 600 views. So I don't know how we're doing that there, but I'm going to put the link
below. Of course they'd say that, wouldn't they?
I'm going to put the link below. So people who haven't watched it, please go on to the Powell Inn and go watch it, boost those numbers, and let's make these little cities cry even more. I just want to say, the Tolkien Society was founded in the 1960s, so they've had decades of
wow, the Tolkien Society is almost as old as my dad.
Yeah, it's been around for decades. And our group, the White Council, which we call ourselves,
and us four retards outdo them.
4 retards who have actually been who've only just been around for like 6 minutes, and we managed to BTF over the Tolkien Society.
You love to see it.
I just can't, because it's. I'm going to bring up some of these tweets. I don't want to dox the people involved.
Feel free to dox me. I don't care. All my tweets were basically just me retweeting people and saying, "Oh, sweet, a Jitso thread."
So this was from one of the members there. that I joined in with. So this was like one of the last ones we did, she was arguing from the homosexual Hobbit angle, but she didn't really seem to know what she was what she was arguing for. So I just manufactured trends youth, which is what I could find. Yeah, and literally they were doing. This was one of the quotes from the Silmarillion. Again, this was. This section here that we've got here is about a effectively like an angel that actually changes itself because it can, because a being with divine providence, it's not human. It doesn't abide by the same rules as mere mortals, men and such. But of course, the idiots, same one I think, attribute this to trans rights.
Tolkien says trans rights.
Well, it's trans rights because apparently, and there's power. Just it's written by an elf, narrated by an elf, directed elves, and it's misunderstood in its full context because they're looking for anything that they can manipulate. Same with like the whole queer language stuff. And there's cringe. Go. Let's see. Here we go. So this was one of the individuals. By the way, I'm
gonna be real with you, AI. Whenever he posted anything, I didn't even read it. I just insulted him.
Yeah, because he wasn't okay. So just to let you know, please do not go and contact this guy because he is a worthless
idiot. Because he will dox you.
And he will dox you because he was threatening to do it, and he's just a very nasty individual all round, and a bit of an idiot. So, he was the one that first started. He's the one that started the sort of injecting himself, I guess, into our space, because he wanted to see what was going on, and I think he was pretty much the only person commenting on the live chat all evening.
Hey, he boosted our views, so it works for us.
Yeah, it's like own goal. He tried to get one of his friends to do like dislikes and everything, and it's like.
Damn, he has friends.
Yeah, friends. And to be fair, there were actually a few disenfranchised Tolkien fans that did come in and sort of agreed with our perspective. So one of the things that we laid out, which was the big thing on our stream, which I again go and watch because I'm not going to spoil it all, was the Christian symbolism within Tolkien's work, and we spent most of our time just talking about that, talking about Anglo-Saxon narratives, inspiration that Tolkien used, from whether it's from language or tales or stories, anything like that, or folklore or what have you. And he was just kept on saying, we're wrong, we're incompetent, blah 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 blah. And
I am incompetent, just not on this.
Well, no, we asked him, did you? Can you rebuke us? Can you give an example for us where we were wrong? And he couldn't. All he ended up and this is what he just repeated to say. He says, just to say, you did a grand job of showing where Christian debate in the 21st century is up to. Again, moron. We weren't talking about Christian theory or Christian theological debates. We'll talk about Tolkien's work with Christian symbolism within it. I mean, if you can't distinguish the two. I'm sorry. I don't know what to say.
It's quite, idiot, isn't he?
It's like literally that mind-blowing meme with this guy, with all these people. They can dig below the surface to find all sorts of bullshit about the LGBT stuff, but if you dig in a different direction towards Christian symbolism and sort of the cardinal virtues of prudence and valor and what have you, it's like, no, mind blown.
Yeah,
can't comprehend it.
Well, yeah, because all they do is just try to co-opt different stories to go and make them feel good. Like, that's all these people do. They don't do anything else.
I've never picked up a book or watched a series, everything, and said, you know what? I want to see myself in this. And if I don't see myself, then this show is promoting, homophobic narratives or cisgender, whatever bullshit they come up with. I mean, in terms, I don't even know the terms now because every time I hear or see like cisgender, mind zones out because I don't want to lose brain cells on this. Yeah, and he goes on to say, your knowledge regarding Tolkien, the history of British Isles. Oh, yeah, this is the thing. He didn't like my accurate historical take of the British Isles from the Anglo-Saxon migration. Again, he didn't rebuke any of that. And I just want to say the history that I got, that I was quoting, was from Oxford professor of history and of Anglo-Saxon studies, St. Bede, and who was an Anglo-Saxon himself. Now, in Tim's world, all of those people are lying, anti-LGBT conspiracy nutters who are trying to lie about British history. Because I don't know why. Again, like, I mean, we just go on to interviews that Tolkien did where he talked about sort of Christianity in a loose sense with his work. Again, Tolkien doesn't know what Tolkien's own work. He's a conspiracy theorist, guys. He's an anti-LGBT conspiracy theorist. He just goes rambling on. Again, he sort of goes on to say he thought that we were trying to say the Tolkien Society financed Amazon, and then he thinks we were confused with the Tolkien estate. We never said Tolkien Society financed Amazon. We did say that the Tolkien Society as a fan organization has massive sway in production value, because when you make a production in, let's say, TV format of let's say the Silmarillion. Let's say there's a film coming out with the Silmarillion, or a short story series or what have you. They would draw inspiration from fan forums, from lore videos, from all aspects, and of course from the books itself. So these people also do have a say. And also, I think one thing that they didn't clarify, which I did ask the question, and I think it is true. There is, when it comes to rights, all rights are reserved still with the Tolkien estate. Again, something that I think they were trying to refute, and it's like, no, the rights do still lie with the Tolkien estate. I don't believe that they've...
Yeah, like the Tolkien estate, if they wanted to, could just force the Tolkien Society to disband.
Oh, in theory, yes, they could do. Or they could declare them that they're not officially affiliated with the Tolkien estate. Oh, I'll just say hi to Pseudonym. What's this? I think the Dark Lord Morgoth could also provide a different point of view. Changing Tolkien's text to fit an agenda sounds quite familiar. I mean,
Morgoth says trans rights. That's why he's evil.
Based.
Well, you have to remember,
Based Tolkien.
The Uruk-hai and the Orcs were technically socially engineered to fit the ruling elite of Mordor. In theory, isn't that correct?
Yeah, although Mordor didn't even exist until the Second Age. Like, trust me, I have the official atlas from Middle-earth, and Mordor doesn't appear at all until the Second Age.
Who was it? Because I know that the Orcs were originally elves.
Morgoth created the Orcs. Sauron was just a servant of Morgoth.
Yeah, so it was an element of social engineering. I mean, I do wonder what their view on Morgoth is, actually, come to think of it, because
they might not know who he is.
Well, they may
from the way they talk.
they may not, but it'd be interesting to see what their point of view on Morgoth is, because obviously, I mean,
well, when you actually read the books, the Orcs make it pretty clear that they hate their masters. It's just that they're engineered to be evil. Like, there's no such thing as a good orc.
Wow, was he trying to say they were black people?
I'm just going to actually pseudonyms here, and he's very, very much an expert on Middle Earth, and very much also expert on Christianology, I guess you say, Christian theological background.
Theology. Yeah.
Theology. One of the things that this individual didn't like, pseudonym, was I mentioned to him the Christian symbolism behind Tolkien's work, and there was actually one set out by a Catholic priest who set it out. I think it was in one of his blogs. He called it like the three sort of Jesus principles. So you had the prophet, you had the priest, and then what was the other one? Prophet, priest, king. That's it. Prophet, priest, king. And effectively, it was each sort of characteristic was implemented in each of the characters. So the king, of course, was Aragorn. The prophet was Gandalf, who you're the lore master of Middle Earth, very much wise figure within his order, and of course he does, like, he's one of the big references that he makes in the film. I think it's in the book, but I think it's in the film. Is I'm a servant of the secret fire and everything. So there's quite a few references there, and then of course you have the priest, I guess, which I believe we said it was Frodo, and one of the things is, of course, he carries the burden of the ring, which is the pure personification of power and evil. And there's one thing that I noticed that a lot of these people don't realize is that the ring, the actions that people make when they're possessed by the ring, is not their own free will of what they're saying and doing. It's the ring which is telling them, because obviously the ring is wanting to get back to Mordor, back to Sauron, to its master. And I think a lot of these people, when they talk about the ring, I've noticed them, they sort of attribute it, or say, oh, it corrupts the heart of this. Well, it does, but the ring is, you have like moments like with Boromir and such, where there's like a sudden realization of, and with Bilbo, sudden realization of when the ring slowly, once the ring sort of releases its instant grip from them, they have like a massive mood swing where they're really emotional because they realize what's happened. It's like, I mean, it's almost like a sort of a possessed item, in that sort of way. And this is something I just noticed they don't really seem to understand. And so, soon, and this was the three principles I was setting out, and of course, Frodo, he's in many ways, there is overlapping. So while he enters Mount Doom, Mordor and Mount Doom, and you have Aragorn who marches up to the gates with Gandalf, it's very much reminiscent of the harrowing of hell, which is obviously Jesus on the second day. Very much reminiscent of that sort of. I mean, I definitely see it in the film, in Return of the King. I definitely see that sort of inspiration, and this is the thing that they just didn't like and they couldn't get over, particularly. So, this and these sort of comments is what we got. Let's see what else. Is there anything quite funny we can do? I'm sorry if we're going through private chats. There's nothing on here that we say which is too.
The White Council.
The White Council. Yeah. Always that. Let's see. Yeah, trouble is, guys, they blocked me with most of my things.
So incognito.
I wonder why.
They blocked us.
Yes. Well, they were never interested in having a conversation. They were interested in calling you homophobes. That's all they wanted. So
yeah.
I'm not surprised by that.
I do think one thing that really fascinated me, it was actually, I don't know if it's, I find it disappointing, and it's, I think one of the crises at the moment within intellectual circles is that you don't have the sort of critical thinking individuals like you used to do, who would, with my example, when I first saw the whole, is Frodo and Sam gay for each other, I actually looked at it for a second and I just thought, you know what? I'm actually going to go and have a look at this article, the Guardian article. I'll read it through, see what they say. And then I came to the conclusion they're deliberately misinterpreting the term queer to fit their agenda. That became obvious within like the first 5 seconds of me.
We're going through that article on Saturday for Laughing at the Guardian because it seems just, I could probably make the whole episode about it. It just seems ridiculous.
If you want me on to talk about Tolkien, I'm more than happy to come on short notice.
Keep your Saturday free. Then I may need another guest. So
yeah,
all right. I have all of my
promises,
Tolkien books with me, so
yeah,
including Unfinished Tales.
Get Chicago on there because he can do it just some justice.
Right.
And
Will that and also actually talk about like Tolkien stuff? Since I have all the information with me.
hello Owine and hello Portrait Seal. Thanks for joining us. And thank you, Stu. Yeah,
Owine's been nostalgia posting all day about 2016. He needs to stop.
Yeah.
We're out of 2016.
I think the current drama in not the Tolkien drama because that's just funny. But the current drama in our circles is I think it's taken its toll on some of us, including Owine.
It's fucking funny, mate.
It is funny.
I just find it funny that as soon as I told Jay Green River that he might as well should block me since I hang out with Hayran's crew, he then did. I didn't actually expect him to.
I do have to ask this. What is wrong? Because I'm going to tie this in very briefly with the Tolkien academics, like the PhD lot and everything, that were spurging out and not giving me a genuine answer. What is wrong with academics at the moment? What are they taking? Is there something?
Dude, I'd love to go and get whatever they're taking.
Yeah.
It sounds like a great time. I just go pretend I'm intelligent.
I always think back to the George Orwell quote where there's some things that there's some
academics
things
ain't shit, right?
Well, no, there's some things that are so stupid only an academic would believe, or something along that line. And I know you're not all bad, Pseudonym. I'm not saying you in particular because you're very good in your field. But this is the thing. Like there are some academics who I think back to Tolkien himself. Right, he was a specialist in Anglo-Saxon language, literacy.
Did you also know that's Tolkien's reason why we have Beowulf translated into English?
Exactly.
And most Norse mythology too.
I did know that, yeah.
Yeah. And then you would so but the thing is, it used to be you would be like a massive autist in one particular field, which was I think a very good thing actually, because it keeps you focused on one particular area and then you become the expert in that particular area. But at the moment it does seem that there's a good portion of them who are coming to some very, very simple, what I would say simpleton, like pure simpleton. They've sort of gone off the grid and gone to simpleton conclusions about stuff. And I'm sorry,
it's gay, isn't it?
If you can, I was watching this documentary, and I will. If you go on, I think it's called DW Germany or something like that, and it was on the far right in Germany, okay. And I watched it because I thought, it's gonna be like one of these Vice things where it's like 10 like mid-century German simps in there, in somewhere in Germany, just hanging out in the woods and barbecuing.
10 German bombers in the air, was that? Sorry.
10 German bombers. I thought it was just going to be like 10 rando Germans who were not out, unemployed and everything, and it was just going to be like a massive overblown article, overblown piece. Turns out it really wasn't. Okay. And I think back to the tens, the Vanguard elite for a second. Okay. They started off with German intelligence service report, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they then jump to a I think it was a journalist article, the fact that one neo-Nazi of this group, they don't mention the name of this group, but they mention the operation plans that the group has, was in possession of I think it was 10, 20,000 rounds of German police ammunition. And that's that's quite interesting. And what happens is they actually follow the story around, and it turns out that every single barracks, pretty much within Germany, has trainers, and these are people who train the soldiers who are members of these group, and they have a trainer in the German Air Force, they have them in the military and they have many connections with soldiers, and they have it within some local politicians, within judges in courts, and then you actually slowly see this network just expand out of all these people, and they all seem to be working within each other. And what's quite interesting is everything's quite compartmentalized, because not one of them knows too much about what they're meant to be doing, but all they know is they have this thing called Day X, and Day X is this particular day when they effectively enact the sort of 21st putsch, where they overthrow the government. And it was really well organized, because they first of all, they would just knock out the communications, which they had a plan for. They had police that they could get on their side. They had the military, which they could mobilize within minutes. One of the first things they planned to do was to arrest journalists, academics, and left-wing politicians, and put them against the wall effectively. And these were, they don't know how wide the network was. There was some suggestion that there could be, hundreds of German soldiers, maybe even more. But that doesn't matter, because it was all compartmentalized with officers. All these people were either high-ranking officers, former special forces, current special forces. I think there was one special forces unit which had to be completely disbanded because they were part of this.
Oh, yeah, the Germans had to disband their main counterterrorism unit, because that unit actually did have a lot of fascist propaganda in it.
Yeah, because, and you can think, if you want to talk about a vanguard network of tens, that is it. The people who want to overthrow the current system in Germany, that is a vanguard elite of tens. Those are tens. Those are people who I wouldn't fuck with, and I don't think anyone here would want to fuck with as well.
That's the issue with vanguard groups of tens is that they're usually pretty stupid, because they keep getting caught.
Yeah, this is what's getting me.
The thing, though, is what is weird about this story, which I find deeply suspicious, and maybe it's because I'm quite Machiavellian in thought here, there does seem to be a really weird thing where actually members of the group were just giving over plans openly, and they weren't being bunked off by fellow group members. It seemed to be like the organization just thought they would give it over to journalists and German prosecutors. And I mean, I'm just thinking to myself, number one, why are they doing that? And number two, I mean, personally, it seems like a distraction, if I'm absolutely honest. If I was to guess anything, it seemed like a distraction. Or internal power play between certain military individuals who wanted the top job. It could be something along those lines. I don't know. But whatever the case, they were able to build up enough of a network for long enough. And it's an open secret, from what I understand, within the German military. It's an open secret that these people operate and exist. But the problem is they can't be pinned down on really anything, and that's the problem they find at the moment with the courts, is they just can't pin them down, because we don't know how far and how wide their power extends. And again, this is what I would say is a vanguard elite of tens. Now let's compare them to the vanguard elite of tens that we are accustomed with.
Just say compare it to AA. You may as well.
Yes, the vanguard group of tens who keep being dominated by their wives.
Well, actually, hang on. While we're on this subject, I will say, in fairness to AA, he's not saying that he's a 10. He's saying he wants to create a situation where you can basically groom 10s to do what you, or at least people about now.
6 cannot groom 10s.
Hayran, if I was the personification of Caesar, of Napoleon, of the mid-century German, of Stalin, of all these people, and I was riding around my white horse, and I came across the building blocks of AA and his people, and they said, "Look at the conditions I've created for you." My first thing would be, "What the hell are you doing, foot soldier? Get back into line. Why the hell do I need to follow your foundation? You're not a 10. You're a 1. You're below 1. You're nothing." And this is the thing.
Well, I just pull a patent and slap this shit out of him.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, they're working on the assumption that the 10s will even follow what they're doing, because if they self-admit they're not 10s themselves, then it's meaningless task.
I mean, going off what AA was saying, he's saying we need to turn people like Don the Pleb, or was it Yiz as an example? I think, but I don't know why. But
I'm sorry, but I'm not going to be following Don the Pleb and Yiz. That's a great way for me to go into lands to be shot by the ATF.
Don's fine. Don's fine.
No, listen. To be fair,
Don is fine. It's just that I've seen Don's plans for his community thing, and it just looks way too much like Waco to me. So that's why I don't want to follow.
No. To be fair, we've discussed this before. Don. I mean, Don's a nice guy. Him and Staff Sergeant Sniper are actually very tactically thinking. They are, of course, with their previous military experience, and they're both veterans themselves, I believe. I don't think they would use force lightly. I don't think they treat it as like a meaningless tool. They know the implications of because the trouble is when you use force, it's like opening Pandora's box. You can't go back from it. There is no way. You have to finish what you started, or be finished from what you started. So I do think they understand the context, the consequences that they could unleash. And I mean, Staff Sergeant, I've stated before, and this is where I get a bit fed posty, guys. I've stated before the conditions for what some have been talking about. We're not there yet. I think we were close last year, but when we get to that point, when we get to effectively 1935 Spain, you'll know when that is, because it will be it won't just be it won't be like in a city, it'll be in your town, it'll be in your face.
This is what made me laugh when Jay Greenriver said, like, when we were saying, like, we can't really rely on us making 10s. He just said back, but AA said when we see a 10 we'll know. And in my head I went, yeah, you'll know because you'll have a bullet in the back of the head from the 10.
Well, yeah, because if they think you're a threat to power, I mean, why wouldn't you? Spanish Civil War.
Yeah, I mean, I personally consider myself to be like a 7 or something, and I'm just not going to care. Like, I have 10 energy of just apathy.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go and make my own fucking town and leave.
Not be a 10.
It'd be I mean, we've done this hypothetical thing before, but I do think if there was a Spanish Civil War scenario, I can't speak for America, but I don't know how it'd play out. I think in the UK it would be a bit like with Catalan. Like Scotland would, the Scottish Nazis would declare independence, obviously, and then everywhere else it would be pretty much London, Bristol versus everyone else, Manchester versus everyone else. It would be quite similar to the Spanish, and it'd be interesting to see. It'd be where the military goes. That would be the main thing. And it also depends how the left. Because the thing is, when the left get violent, they're not very good with optics. That's a universal thing. the
Well,
right.
and also when the left get violence, they're usually not that great with their aim, and the right is, since they train.
Yeah.
Well, this is the problem with. This is one of the problems they had within the Spanish Civil War, is that effectively the more ideologically extreme you were, the more likely you were to be massacred in a very gruesome fashion. And I mean, when you read like some of the the military structure of the communists and the the anarchist battalions, where they just didn't have like a command structure, and it was all like, battalions would vote on what what position to hold and everything. It was, I mean, and then they get massacred by hordes of like Franco's men and such, and it's like, it's like the Children's Crusade. It's just like a massive, absolute historical laughing stock failure that you can all laugh at. But anyway, we'll move on from we're talking about Tolkien Society. Let's go into the other bit. Cargo Lib. Now, we're going to talk about this. I need to talk about this because it's something that I've seen, and it's the Democrats in America, and it's a tactic that I've seen deployed, which is, I guess I wouldn't say, it's probably not new, but it feels new. And Labour's been doing it a bit in this country as well, but I know it's Democrats. So obviously last year, people remember that the whole defund the police campaign was very much, you had Democrats who were all behind it because they were inciting race war because of Trump. And then you had Republicans either not saying anything or being against it. Most of them were probably against it, to be honest. Because why would you want to turn your city and community into a literal Chirac war zone? And as time has progressed, correct me if I'm wrong, Chicago Liberal, but there's been like this call from Republicans, or it was something about Tucker Carlson about defunding the military, and then the left and the Democrats in America have basically co-opted the counter position and said, "Oh, look how reckless the Republicans are. They want to defund the military." And there's even been some Democrats who've been saying, "Oh, they want to defund the police." And so it's literally
keep in mind that the Republicans were the first people to actually want to like defund law enforcement, and this was in the 30s and 40s. Like the Republicans basically started this stuff in the early 20th century. So now they're just being able to lay in that bed.
Well, because they were.
They still pretty much. They still pretty much are a progressive party. They're just an early 20th century progressive party instead of a early 21st century one. They haven't really changed.
I don't know. I mean, the paleo conservatives. I mean, I wouldn't.
The paleo conservatives aren't in charge of the party.
I know they're not in charge of the party, but they do. Would a progressive Republican be selected in a state like Alabama, for example?
Yeah, actually, they would.
Would they?
America's gone
because remember, Alabama is also the birthplace of the civil rights movement.
Well, yeah, I mean, like a place, somewhere like Birmingham, or where you could say Birmingham, or something like that. Yeah, Birmingham. I would imagine a Republican there probably would be progressive. But if you were to say like in a congressional seat out in the sticks,
well, yeah, out in the boonies, sure, you might find a paleocon, but even then, you're just going to find most likely a progressive that is socially conservative. Which is when the Ocon is.
Now, this goes back, so let me just bring up Red Eagle. Red Eagle Politics, this person I follow for like American stuff. He does like all the stats and numbers, and I do like that sort of stuff because it's just entertaining.
But keep in mind that his version of the ideal Republican candidate is the next Theodore Roosevelt, and Roosevelt is still very much a progressive.
Oh, God damn it! I like Teddy.
Yeah,
Teddy was great on conservation and empire building, but that's it. Every other policy he did was bad.
I know this. One of my favorite presidents, and I don't know why. Maybe it's because of his attitudes just towards the media and everything else. But it has to be Nixon. I really like Nixon.
I like Nixon.
Oh yeah, Nixon was a Chad because he just didn't give a damn.
But how was he not assassinated by the CIA though? That's what.
Because the CIA agreed with him.
What? Hold on a sec.
Do you know how much the CIA hated the media at the time?
Oh, fair enough. Okay.
Like, that was the CIA of the Dulles brothers. And those were the guys who overthrew several Central American governments just because their favorite fruit company was being threatened. Like, that's why we went into Guatemala. Their favorite fruit company was told to go and sell off some lands that they weren't even using. So they overthrew the president.
Right. So
yeah, we fought in Guatemala for 70 years doing that.
So this is the tweet that I wanted to talk about because actually it is something that it's something that I've noticed, and this is part of the Democrats. So just to give a bit of context, a few months ago, I think probably about a month ago now, there was the Lotus Eaters covered on one of their streams a Democrat strategist who sat down with, I think it was like Vox or something like that, and he was a Democrat strategist for the Clintons, and he ran the campaign. He was there for the campaigns in '92 and I think in '96 as well, and he's been advising other Democrats and everything. And he really didn't actually hold back really of how bad the Democrats were, because effectively you had from 96 onwards, the Democrat Party has consistently consolidated in coastal states, but also particularly within cities. And while on the numbers,
well, I mean, I can see why, since all of the rural Democrats were in the South, and they've died off.
Well, they died off, and then their children would just went over to the Reagan.
Yeah, to the Republicans.
Reagan.
Yeah,
under Reagan.
The children were Reaganites.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at, actually, I will bring up in a sec if you look at the shift on counties. But this is the thing, like if you look at even back as far as the 90s, even under the 80s, you would have in governor and senatorial races in the South, you would see Democrats winning in literally most counties, whether it's rural and suburban or the urban. They would be doing very well in these. And you look at the positions on these Democrats, they would always be socially conservative, but then they'd be like quite economically Keynesian, I would say.
Ew.
Well, that's been the norm of U.S. politics for a very long time. Because remember, Keynesianism is favored by academics because it keeps on brown-nosing academics.
Well, yeah,
that's true.
Yeah. But this is the thing. Unfortunately, if you were to run for any position, I think that is the winning formula. Like Chicago Lib, if you were running for like governor of, was it Illinois?
Yeah, I'd lose.
Well, yeah, in your
state,
you would have to do the opposite. So you'd have to be socially to the left, but then economically to the right. So I'll get to the north-south divide bit in a minute when it comes to winning states, because it's quite interesting. But first,
it's actually funny that you say that about Illinois, since in Illinois you actually have to be socially centrist. As outside of Chicago, the rural electorate actually matters a lot here, because the rural electorate is very similar to the one in Alabama. Like, we are very much a southern state when you get to rural Illinois.
Well, that's quite. I mean, when it comes to, I was looking at back in the previous, and you had the previous Republican governor, and he was described as being, I think it was like in the 80s, and he was like described as socially left wing.
Our last Republican governor was actually the one before Pritzker.
Was it? I was
Bruce Rauner was a Republican.
Oh, right. Okay. Because I was looking at the one right before, and it seemed to be if you were a northern Republican coming up into the 80s, like the Reagan period, you would have to be quite socially to the left, but then economically to the right, like Reaganomics sort of stuff.
Yeah. Well, I guess you'd have to defend. I guess you'd have to define what socially to the left is.
Yeah,
Since that will
I mean,
keep on changing over the decades. Like
well, I guess
socially left in the 80s is now socially center right now.
yeah. So it would be whatever was coming out of university. I guess that's how you define it. Whatever comes out of university. So, Republican transgender.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Critical race theory people, they don't last long in Illinois politics outside of Chicago. And even in Chicago, they're usually chewed up and tossed out because it's Chicago.
I think critical race theory is a poison chalice when it comes to election stuff. I think if you ran on the platform anywhere in America on critical race theory alone,
did you actually see what happens to the critical race theory candidate in New York City?
Go on.
They lost to the militarized police candidates.
But that's my point. It's like when it, because I think that a lot of African Americans find it very condescending. If I'm absolutely honest, I think that's what I think.
Yeah,
there's
and also most African Americans actually really hate gay people here.
That's the same with that's kind of the same with the similar demographic over in Britain, to be honest.
Yeah.
So well, anyway, except in America, a lot of our African Americans are very similar to Southern Baptists when it comes to their religious views, and Southern Baptists are insane.
So going back to what I was saying about the Democrat strategist, he basically railed against wokeism, which is like the colloquial term that boomers use today, which I don't think even most of them know what it means. But hey, what critical race theory, wokeism, he said that it is stifling democratic potential in many congressional seats and places like that. And so what he then went on to say, because he sort of upset the journalists in many ways at Vox, because they were a bit surprised that he wasn't a massive progressive and everything, which is, he's a 90s Democrat, so he probably wouldn't be on the same page of everything that they're on. But one thing he did say was that candidates, the successful one has to represent the state and the value of its people in the state. And it's something that when you look back at look at the one thing I noticed is if you look at the American politics right before the Civil War era, especially in the South, you definitely see a different attitude to how they consider themselves American, where really it was actually their state first. Like being an American was like it was like how I guess we view like the UN. It's like a separate entity. We are like a Virginian. We're Alabama.
The only states that actually saw themselves as American first and their state second was New England. So thanks.
But that makes sense because that is where the revolution kicked off. That's where the revolution kicked off. That's where the revolutionary founding fathers in that sort of region had their major centers where they founded their capital. It makes sense.
New England was not where the revolutionary capital was.
No,
not even close.
No, I include Massachusetts in that, but I know people don't. I do, but I'm sorry, I don't.
I mean, Massachusetts wasn't. Well, nowhere in Massachusetts was the revolutionary capital. The capital was in Philadelphia at that time.
Yeah, no. When I say revolutionary capital, I mean like the founding. It doesn't matter, but yeah.
The founding fathers didn't even sign anything in Massachusetts.
You're being difficult. You know what I mean. And yes, I know Philly was the capital of but the problem is Philly was captured during the Revolutionary War. So the capital was.
They then went to New Jersey.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say New Jersey was a bastion of patriotism because it was filled with Tory militia. That's one of the reasons why there was always this struggle for Washington to capture
base New Jersey
Boston and New York. Yeah, it's really funny if you look at I went to a museum here in the West Country, and there was there was like a whole regiment that went over to New Jersey, and it was all centered around this area. And I'm probably going to pronounce it wrong. It's like Sontucket or somewhere like that. And it literally, you had so many Tory militias, and of course, in the famous one, which was the Rogers Rangers, they're the famous one that probably most Americans, if they study the Revolution and everything in depth, that's the Rogers Rangers would be. I think that they're like the main one. Oh, and yeah, he's popped off. Yeah, they're the main one. So, but anyway, with this tweet, so
go on.
So this was a poll done by that Red Eagle's reacting to. So we'll just click on this. So this is for the Texas governor election. Now, Texas is considered to be like a D+20 odd state. Sorry, a Republican plus 20 odd state, not D plus 20 odd state. It's a Republican state. And I think Chicago's trying to rejoin, but he's having a bit of internet problem. And this is you got the Republican candidates, so Greg Abbott, and you've got the usual sort of Democrat ones. You've got Beto O'Rourke and Don Huffins, who I've never heard of. But then there's someone else there that you don't expect to see, and that is Matthew McConaughey.
The actor?
Yeah, the actor.
What's he doing there?
He has been talking about joining the race. He didn't say that he was going to join the Democrat Party, but this is the polling in the sort of hypothetical scenario that if he did. Now, from what I
Sorry,
understand,
that wasn't even my internet. My fat fingers accidentally clicked leave.
I've done that before.
That's all right.
I get that a lot on AI streams, to be fair.
So I was just talking about this poll, Chicago Lib. So this is, of course, the Texas governor election for the midterms next year. You got the incumbent there, and he's polling against all the other Democrats. But then there's one name in there which he is quite close with, and it's Matthew McConaughey.
That's funny. It just shows how utterly retarded the Democrats are. That now they're just voting in random movie stars because it worked that one time with Arnold, and that other time with Reagan.
Well,
hang on a sec.
McConaughey was more sensible.
Well, this is the thing. Now, Matthew McConaughey, I actually don't think this is a stupid idea by Democrats. In fact, I think it's actually a very sensible idea. And this is why I'll go into why from their point of view. He has been doing a couple of podcasts lately where he comes across as not right-wing or left-wing, but as a pure fence sitter, centrist. He even self-described himself as a centrist. When he pins down economic stuff, you can't really pin him down. I would say he's quite economically left, if I'm absolutely honest. I wouldn't say he's economically right-wing, and I wouldn't say he's like an Austrian or anything like that. He seems to be very, very centre ground sort of fellow. Now, I think when it comes to places like Texas and the South, if you were a Democrat and you needed to win a southern state, you would have to win over a good portion of Republican voters. That's just a fact of reality. You would have to win over a portion, or win over enough independents plus a portion. Depending on what the breakdown of the state is. If we take the most radical example of I think Oklahoma, which is the most Republican state in the US when it comes to voting.
That's actually in terms of voting, I would think that the most Republican state would actually be Wyoming, since there's no Democrats there.
Oh,
Like
you
none.
see, a turnip
But then
merchant
again,
said,
Wyoming's largest city is also only 79,000 people. So,
but this in turn, I think turnip merchant. He said to me when I had him on here that it was Oklahoma was the most Republican. I think. Well, I think he. I don't know if he means like in the presidential election or governor elections, or senatorial elections. But I looked. We looked at the map then. It was literally
I was looking at congressional elections for Wyoming, and they just don't have Democrats running there.
Yeah. But yeah, when it comes to this poll, it does seem that Matthew McConaughey, if he was to run with the Democrats, he does very well with a portion of the electorate, more so than Beto O'Rourke. But the interesting thing with the Democrat strategy here is they're really going after the white vote, and this is something that no one's really talking about. The reason why the Republicans may do well in some of these states like Arizona and Nevada and Texas and what have you, especially Texas, come the midterms, is because the Hispanic vote. And I'm told that in Texas there's actually like a community who don't consider themselves Mexican because they've been in America centuries. They have like their own term that they use, but they're Hispanic. And if you look at voting trajectories,
the Tejanos,
that's it. That's the ones. They have swung. I'll just give an example. Go to Texas election. You'll see.
Okay.
Election results.
I mean, you'd actually be surprised with how little attention I pay to Texas, since I have no intention of ever moving there anyway, and it doesn't affect Illinois.
No, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
Let me just find.
I think the only things I pay attention to regarding Texas would be oil extraction, since that does affect Illinois.
Oh, fuck's sake.
Yeah, I don't want to pay the same amount for gas as you guys do.
You probably pay more than us at this point, to be honest.
I think you pay more than us.
No, actually, I still only have to pay like $3.20 a gallon.
Yeah, not for long though.
Well, yeah. Unfortunately, we go by pound. That's a hell of a conversion.
Well, if it's going by pound, it's like $2.80 a gallon.
Okay, so
like it's really small.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure it's still cheap compared.
But, right, so I'm just going to share the screen.
Gas here is so cheap because we actually subsidize the gas cost with taxes instead of add on to it.
Boo, subsidies, boo.
So look, if you look at the presidential ones, in 2016, 59% voted for Hillary Clinton. And under the Obama years, the only outline was 2004 when you had Bush, the whole Iraq stuff and all that sort of stuff, and you had Clinton. You had Obama and everything. You're getting 64%. And this county, by the way, is it's Culberson County, and apparently it's a very Democrat sort of county in Texas, Democrat voting area. But
sorry, can you go and scroll back up for me? Okay, that's what the county is. That's where it is, New Mexico then.
Yeah, I'll try to look for. There's some rounds here which you see bigger swings, but what you have is in 2016 the Republican vote goes up slightly because Trump's talking about the border and everything, and apparently there are a lot of people down there that's obviously concerned with cartels and everything. But then in 2020, now you think about Trump lost a good portion of the white vote. And it would appear in some areas, along with a few shenanigans along the way. It does seem that he lost a portion of the white vote, but it was offset by the Hispanic and other minority votes. And if you just look here, like 36.5%, and then he jumped to 48%, nearly taking the down 9%. So effectively like a 9% swing to the Republicans.
It's actually funny that you bring that up, because some friends of mine who worked for the state Republican Party here have been saying that the Republicans are actually going more towards getting the minority vote, while the Democrats are moving more towards getting the white vote again. So it's actually switching back to the mid 1950s.
Yeah, that's something that I've noticed with.
Can't wait for the Southern Democrats to return, boys.
Well, and it depends on how. With dementia, right? With Biden's dementia, shut up, Owine. No one talk about 2016.
Have you seen what Trins? Actually, right now, I really wish that Trinswalker was here, because he's made a point before in a stream that I was on with him, with the Politicrat, that Biden actually is the second coming of Calvin Coolidge because he hasn't done a damn thing and it's kind of racist. Like, he's done basically nothing.
Well, he's raised your gas prices. I don't know what you mean.
He's one of our most... No, Hayran, actually, compared to the last few administrations, he's been one of our most do-nothing presidents since Reagan.
I thought he had like the most executive orders ever for when he first got into office. Like, didn't he come in and do like 70?
Yeah, and then right after that, he's been. Yeah, and all of them were basically just cutting a whole bunch of useless Trump programs, which. Honestly, most of them maybe should have been cut anyway because, well, it's executive overreach, and I don't care which party's doing it. And then he's done nothing since. Like that infrastructure bill, it's going to die. And that's all he's going to be doing in this first term.
I mean, again, look.
I hope the best for you. What can I say?
You look here as well in 84%. They've just gone up, and largely it was down to this Andrews County. So it is largely down to the Hispanic vote in Texas. And interesting enough, if the trend continues, like if you play it nationwide in America, you could actually have a few congressional seats in California flipping to the Republicans again.
Nice.
You'd be surprised how much of California is actually red. It's just that those areas aren't very populated. It's only the cities that are blue.
Yeah. I know about California's issues.
I do. I mean, I do have this. I mean, if I was a Republican in California, I would probably be supporting Caitlyn Jenner just for the sheer hell of it. Because let's be honest, you knew you're not going to win. You might as well just do the most entertaining thing.
I mean, I'd support her for the hell of it because it's funny to see people cope.
It would be. It really would be because then you could just accuse the Democrats and Gavin Newsom of being transphobes and bigots and report them for hate speech.
Yeah, but then I'm basically just a Democrat. Well, I mean, the issue with me doing that is I am one. So I am a bigot, so why would I care? I've made that very clear.
No, but you do it for the the intersectional car crash. I mean, just think about what we've had in here in the UK with Labour recently, and the Muslim vote. I mean, it's been a wonderful intersectional car crash to watch. It's been entertaining. It's been the best thing about it.
Oh my god, yeah, that's one of the main reasons why I tune into you guys to go and see how many car crashes are happening because it's funny. That and I'm friends with you, well, most of you on Facebook at this point, so.
Yeah.
I also heard that Louisiana Louisiana is a very much in presidential elections, it's quite a strong Republican state, but it's got a Democrat governor.
Did you know that Louisiana also had our first Indian American governor too?
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, Bobby Jindal, a Republican.
Nice.
He was the guy who fucked up the BP oil spill stuff.
Oh, okay.
We're sorry.
Yeah, he was kind of an idiot. That in Louisiana is also the home of Huey Long, the biggest moron in politics in the 30s, and that's saying something.
Yeah. Here we go. This is Louis. Yeah, this is Louis.
Man who managed to be even worse than FDR.
Yep.
Hmm?
Yeah. So again, Louisiana here. I'm just going to bring up the governor here. What's his name? John Bell Edwards. There we go. And he was he's the 56th governor. Derek, interesting to see what's his positions. Has he got the AI Shire Tory winning position of economically to the left but socially to the right?
Why can't they both just be to the right? You know what I mean? Just
here we go. Okay, so he did manage to win a few Republicans over. What did he run on? Campaign. Okay, so I think the Democrat sort of suggested himself to be a Republican. Sorry, no, a conservative leaning.
I mean, I say that's the Southern Democrat archetype has died, but it really hasn't. It's just only died in national politics. In state politics in the South, yeah, Southern Democrats are still very much a thing.
Yeah, this is something I've
They're
noticed.
just not segregationist anymore for obvious reasons.
If you were to run the segregationist platform at the moment, you'd probably be supported by the progressives, to be honest.
Yeah, which is honestly hilarious. I mean, hey, if they want to segregate themselves, all right. Oh, also breaking news for you, AI. As of 2 hours ago, creepy porn lawyer Esquire, also known as Michael Avenatti, just got sentenced to 2.5 years in prison.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, God, I remember that guy. I remember I wonder why Stormy Daniels was trending. Now we know.
Apparently he was involved in some sort of extortion case for Nike shoes.
God, what a pathetic way to go
creep.
down. What a creep.
I still love that one time of 4chan boards trolled him with fake evidence for Donald Trump being a rapist.
Yeah, so this is that's the Democrat strategy that I've noticing that it seems to be that Democrats are, or certain aspects of the party are trying to put center, what was it, socially right wing but economically center, economic left wing in certain southern seats to win them over in that regard. Now the question is, do I think they will fulfill what they were elected on? Probably not. They're probably all massive progressive. But that's the thing. The left can lie. They know how to lie to get into power. They just lie. And the right needs to learn to lie.
You'd be surprised how hard it is for you to go and lie in the South. Since in the South, it's a lot of good old boys, and good old boys don't fuck around.
No good old boys. I didn't know.
Good old boys, essentially the North FC meme, but with shotguns.
North FC is based.
Well, this is why I said if I ever emigrate to America, I would have to live like somewhere in. I mean, because where I live at the moment is really swampy in some parts, so I'd have to go to like Mississippi or somewhere like that, just like some really like fucking swampy bit of Mississippi. That'd be where I'd live.
I think you'd enjoy Florida. I think you'd enjoy Florida.
Maybe Florida. I don't know. Florida seems a bit crazy, though. I don't know. It seems a bit mad. I like for peaceful existence.
Well, the reason why Florida is crazy is because Florida has a state law that journalists have to report every single arrest. So they report the crazy ones.
It's not that they have. It's not that journalists have to report the arrests. It's that the arrest record's public.
They're legally required to. Yeah,
because that's why you always see like Florida man
journalists will report them because they're insane.
But this is why
Florida man is very much just a everywhere in America thing.
Yeah.
It's just that in Florida the records are public, so they're published.
Okay, on the thing of the Democrats, because one of the things that we were taught in this country, and I was taught when I was at college, was the Great Switch. The after the civil rights, when all the racists joined the Republican Party, and then all the good guys joined the Democrat Party, and then the North became blue, and then the South became deep red, and that's how life goes on from there. Now, obviously, this is
Do you know the funniest thing about that AI?
Yeah.
The funniest thing about that is precisely one Southern Democrat joined the Republicans.
This is what I was going to say.
Only
all
one.
Of the segregationists, all the Democrats say segregationists, bar one, joined. Well, they all remained in the Democrat Party, and for many, many decades after civil rights.
Yeah, it's just that they stopped, harping on about segregation.
Yeah, I mean, like George Wallace.
They had to.
Well, see, George Wallace, he went and had his the American Union Party or something like that. He went and did like his own thing, briefly.
We basically just call it the Dixiecrat Party here because, well, that's what it was.
Yeah, Dixiecrat.
He was a sectional candidate.
Yes. It's really funny. There was a clip I saw of him when like some like hippie was in the stadium where he was giving a speech, and he basically did a Trump and say, "Get him out of here, rough him up a bit," and it's yeah. And again in this country, like George Wallace is the sort of the evil, like if the 60s was to have an American, like if there was like your archetypical, like stereotypical film of civil rights movement in the 60s, George Wallace is like the Darth Vader, the ultimate bad guy.
Oh my god. And yeah, those people, George Wallace has nothing at all on Strom Thurmond. Like, I'll go put it this way. Strom Thurmond was elected as South Carolina's senator in, like, 1949. I want you to guess when he left the Senate.
Oh, I'm going to say the 90s.
False. You want to take a guess, Hayran?
No, because I have no idea.
Maybe like 2000 or something.
All right. He left the Senate in 2003 when he reached the age of 100 and was forced to retire.
Not bad.
So you had
the dude even voted for the Iraq War. That's how long he was in the Senate.
I know that one of Biden's, I guess you could say, political masters and Clinton's political masters, was it something Bird? George Bird, yeah. He was. He wasn't just your Southern segregationist.
Oh, yeah. He wasn't just a segregationist. He was a leader in the Klan.
Yeah. I was going to say he was a proper KKK kind of a guy, and he did like an interview.
He was one of the higher ups in Virginia.
Well, the thing is, he did an interview in like 2005, I think it was, and he was interviewing a journalist, and then he just blurted out the N-word and called the journalist a fag or something, and then the journalist stopped, and then his office had to apologize for him after the interview and saying, "We didn't mean to use."
I endorse this behavior.
Right. I mean,
so what you're saying is Harry Byrd Jr. is our guy in Congress.
Well, he probably was your guy in
Congress. Our guy was like 20 parentheses.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, he was super.
No, he wasn't my guy in Congress. He was in Virginia.
He was in Virginia, but he was friends with obviously Biden, the current president, and Biden gave a eulogy at his funeral. And I mean, it makes sense because you look at Biden. One of the first like press stuff he did when he was a senator was he talked about how he didn't want his children to be around black kids on the school bus because the racial jungle and all that. Because of course, children are such wonderful beacons of society today. It's just amazing. I honestly think the moment will come and the Democrats will revert back to white nationalism. I'm certain it's going to happen. I'm 100% certain it's going to happen.
Oh, you just reminded me of one of my favorite senators from the 40s, just because of how much of a meme he was.
Which one's that?
Senator Theodore Bilbo of Mississippi. Every single time he was interviewed during World War II, he made fun of Italians. One time, an Italian mother then called in on the radio station afterwards, exclaiming that she was really angry about the interview because her son was killed in the war. So then Theodore Bilbo wrote to her, was calling her basically a fag. He also co-wrote a bill to just deport the blacks to Africa with several black nationalists sponsoring it, including Marcus Garvey.
I mean, okay, okay. Here's a crazy theory because I've just been thinking about it.
Repub for the Hobbit has no state.
Yeah, Hobbit. But here's a crazy theory, right? What if the segregational Democrats just still continue and they've actually been running the Democrat Party for the last 40 years, and what they're doing is basically just a massive fifth dimensional chess move by the segregationists to get the blacks to resegregate themselves.
Well, I guess that makes sense for why AA is a Blairite.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. This is the thing with the New Democrat strategy in the South is I just don't understand because because the Democrat Party is completely racialized at this point. They are pure race identitarians. Okay, I mean we sort of agree on this particular point. That's all they think about. So the only way that they can win in the South is basically effectively just being racist. I mean, they're targeting a lot of white voters, predominantly suburbs. They haven't gone to the rural white voter yet, which will be quite interesting to see how they do there. But it looks like that they're going to be they're going to have to be Dixiecrat in nature, effectively.
You have no idea just how much I'm gonna laugh when that happens.
I mean, unironically, I would support the Democrats. No, I'm joking. I would. I can actually join the This is the thing. This is what Richard Spencer did because he's joined the Democrats. Him and his crazy gang joined the Democrats. They just voted for Biden. They actually joined the Democrat Party. And
well, I mean, that just further proves your point, I guess.
And David Duke, and he was in the Democrats for quite a while, actually, wasn't he? He joined the I know people say, "Oh, but he joined the Republicans." It's like, yeah, but he was in the Democrats longer, and he went back to the Democrats after. So, yeah, I mean, I think David Duke's a grifter, though. I don't think he's real.
You don't think he's real?
I think he's
there's actually a mutual of mine on. There's a mutual of mine on Twitter who's actually met David Duke.
You see, I think he's an FBI agent, to be honest. But then again, half of the clan are FBI agents, so that exist today.
I actually saw that apparently in Montana, their offshoot of the Klan is becoming like black nationalists. The black nationalist KKK.
Oh God! Oh, I swear to God, when it happens, I'm
oh my God!
But the thing is, with Biden's dementia, right? Because the way dementia works is your mind goes back decades, like after so many, as your dementia gets worse. So at one point, Biden's mind's going to go back to the 50s, like the Democrat mentality in the 50s. And oh boy, when that happens.
So when that happens, we'll see Vice President Harris hanging from a tree.
Okay, disavow. She's not even black. So that's not going to happen.
Yeah, but would Biden care? I mean, remember, this is America. It's the one drop rule here.
Oh God.
Now, of course, I say disavow, but it's going to still be funny.
I know, seriously, Biden is going to use the N-word in the press conference. He's just going to blurt it out and say it.
Finally, I get to post all of those watch Yoda say the N-word videos on Twitter.
But no, he's not going to say like the N-word with a hard R. He's just going to say like the Spanish and French version for black. The Negroes.
I don't think we could.
Yeah.
I actually tried
for me,
to
another
type.
Negro.
I can
actually
say
tried to
Negro.
type them once on Twitter, and I almost got suspended for just typing out Negro.
I don't. Yeah, but it's something like Louis Levi. He like says the N-word on Twitter, on YouTube, and he's never banned. I don't get that.
That's good. That's because he's
an FBI agent.
Yeah, he's an FBI agent. Anyway, moving on away from the Democrats and their white supremacist fetishes to Claudia Webbe now. Chicago.
Finally.
Is this where it gets to go and endorse hating democracy?
Well, the problem is, and this is one of the problems I've discovered, is that some of the Hoppians are right for once. Damn it, on democracy. I have. The problem is when you see Claudia Webbe,
you realize you're talking to one, right?
Yeah,
I know. That's why, because usually I go, oh no, they're wrong on this, and I'll say, here's an example of that great statesman and everything. It's like, no. I mean, this is the thing. Claudia Webbe basically undermines the very framework of democracy, and I have no defense of this. So yeah, you've won, Hopkins. You've won tonight. Yeah, democracy is gay and cringe. And anyway, let's go. So, Hayran, do you want to give the lowdown of what's happened with this charming politician?
So what the audience needs to realise is that Claudia Webbe, I am pretty sure, is clinically retarded, and if she isn't, fuck me, she needs an IQ test. So
is she the MP with the forehead that's larger than the Empire State Building?
Yes.
Yeah, she is.
Okay, so I think I actually made like a Twitter poll of saying how many stories tall is her forehead, and the smallest answer was like 10 stories.
So for her most recent gaffe, we'll say, is that she was in some like Zoom call into.
It was a select committee meeting, and I'll try and find the video because
it was with Dominic Raab, wasn't it? He was just hosting questions, I guess. I don't know the details of the select committee meeting, but
yeah.
For some reason, I assume, did Belarus actually come up at any point before this AI?
No, it didn't. That
makes it even better.
Dominic, so right, this is a select committee meeting. It's basically for the American audience, you have like meetings with with congressional meetings and everything. It's the same sort of thing, effectively. Ministers meet a select group of MPs, televised, and they get to question them and everything. And Dominic Raab is the foreign secretary, so they asked him like questions on stuff like China and Africa and all the other boring stuff. And then Claudia Webbe came out with tried to do a grilling of Dominic Raab.
Her question specifically was it was specifically play it. It's so
I'll play it because it just shows how stupid it was. Okay.
Thank you, Chair. I hope I'm not going to be asking questions that you have already answered, but let me just start with a quick fire one on Belarus, as we've just spoken about that. Why does the government not consider legal action to be necessary in the case of Belarus?
In the case of, I didn't catch the name, Belarus. So why don't we consider, legal action?
Why does the government not consider legal action to be necessary in the case of Belarus?
What is the legal action that you're proposing?
Well,
slap in the face. It's like, what the fuck?
It's very Tucker Carlson, isn't it?
It's really like
Yeah.
complete like fucking brain.
Play it to the end because the last bit's my favourite.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm asking you the question.
Yeah, does
the government consider legal action to be necessary at all?
Sorry, forgive me. What I was trying to clarify is who do you want us to sue and where?
Journo.exe.
Yeah.
Well, does the government agree that the situation in Belarus requires an intervention from the UK?
It's like she realised that Belarus is a place, not a person.
Well, she couldn't even pronounce it. She kept calling it Belarus.
Yeah, I know. I mean, well, I can't really have a go at people for bad pronunciation, but
how much of a dirty trap would you like me to be about this?
Don't be a Dixie crap. Just be a normal. Just be a normal.
Just be a crap. Just be a crap. Yeah.
Just be a milk toast Republican about this.
Just be a trout.
Yeah. No. Oh no.
Yeah. Considering that I'm not even a Republican.
Just be a milk toast Republican. Just be like really basic normie stuff. But don't say anything.
All right, then I'll just say woman moment and move on.
Fair enough.
Thank God for that.
I was going to say. I mean, just to point out, she's the MP for Leicester East. Now, I think Carl and Callum.
How stupid are people in Leicester?
How stupid are they? Well, most of them, 1 in 8 of them, are slaves.
Oh, that's in Leicester, isn't it?
Yeah, Leicester.
Having lived in Leicester for 3 years of my life, I can believe that.
Well, I've met slaves here in the West Country. It goes on.
Hang on. AI, do you mean black people or actual slaves?
No, I mean actual slaves.
I
and former slaves as well.
I'm joking.
And down here in the West Country, we keep our slaves in check.
Are they allowed near the combine harvester?
Thank you, Senator Thurman. Very cool.
Yeah, we keep them in check down here. We don't allow those northern boys to come down here spreading gossip and trouble.
Those Anglo-Yankee scum.
Yeah.
Bloody carpetbaggers.
Our colours were fine before you boys showed up.
Jesus.
Okay. I'm going to stop. I promise I'll stop. I promise I'll stop.
Fuck me.
No, but
stop before you get the Hoppians in.
Yeah. Oh God! When I was at boarding school, I actually bought a Confederate flag because I just felt I was in that mood. But I was a big fan of Dukes of Hazzard back in the day, so it didn't have like the same meaning as it does, I guess, for some people now. For me it was always the rebel flag, so I was like, yeah, I like rebels. Go for it.
You know, actually in my room I have a combination of the Gadsden flag and the Confederate flag, which a friend of mine gave me for Oscar.
Yeah, I can believe that.
I aim to please.
Yeah. So on the topic of this woman, she is she represents Leicester is a very dysfunctional ward. It is what we call here in the West ghettoized, where you have an importation of foreign culture where they do not assimilate and they just bring the culture with them. Hence why we have modern slavery. And sex trafficking, grooming gang related stuff. It's a big problem. It's a big problem in that ward. And she's not made a member of the Labour Party at the moment. I think that's clear to me. She's been kicked out because she was accused of harassing a woman on social media and I think via the post or something like that. So she's been accused. I should say accused. She's not been charged yet. So that court stuff is still to go ahead. She's interacted with Callum on the Lotus Eater several times on Twitter. She has a habit of calling people idiots and racists and such.
Oh yeah, she goes into DMs, doesn't she?
Yeah. I've yet to have a DM. I have nothing. I've yet to have a DM from her, even though I humiliated her with a map of the African slave trade, from and by Africans, and I never got a response from that, which was interesting. So, because that one I was expecting something from, but no, nothing on. But yeah, it is a great. Yeah, Fez is right. It is a great spot on those seaters, and. I mean, for her, she is just pure identity Americanized race grift. She really has nothing else to give for her community or for, I mean, this country, let alone a community. Nothing to do with
the American we don't honor either. So
yeah, I mean, this is the thing. Yeah, because there's a lot of factories in Leicester which produce clothing and other items like that. Hence, why you have a high slave population, of course. Now, I do need to say, in all the jokes and everything I said about this, slavery is illegal in the UK. It was actually made officially illegal in 2014, I believe, or something like that. There was like you could still own a person up until 2014. So
yeah,
unfortunately,
something like that.
Unfortunately, Chicago, I had to give up all my slaves then, which was annoying.
Yeah, that sounds pretty tough, man.
I don't know.
You had to go out and pick the cotton yourself. Jesus.
I know. I have to go pick my my vegetables myself now. I mean, it's like, what the fuck?
Wow. Fuck Parliament. Am I right?
I know. We didn't even have a civil war over it. And bloody Tories. Yeah, conserve my backside. You can't even conserve slavery.
I could make so many English bureaucracy jokes about that. It took the form so long to process.
I don't understand what was with the Tories, though.
It's almost like you put the Indian government in charge of slavery abolition.
Yeah. AI should check the power in public chat. Oh, I'll check them in a bit. I don't know what someone's been telling me in there, but anyway, anything else to add, Hayran, on Claudia Webbe that we need to know about?
Well, not that people don't already know. I mean, obviously she's a Labour MP. Obviously she's in the worst constituency in the UK. I mean, well, just on the point of the 1 in 8 people in a constituency are slaves. So not only is she a Labour MP, the council's full of Labour councillors. It's a Labour stronghold. It is red to its core, and yet it's the worst place in the UK for slaves. And it's supposed to be like the party of the workers or whatever. Like just destroy the Labour Party. It doesn't deserve to be alive anymore. It needs to go.
Yeah,
and it's not like they've got a lack of choice to go anywhere else.
Every party you have should go.
Okay, so apparently Claudia Webbe has released a statement a couple of days ago on Belarus. So there are clear legal remedies to hold Belarus to account for the human rights abuse of detainees. The Lukashenko regime, that's the president of Belarus, is acting
not even how you spell his name.
Lukashenko. No, it's not.
It's Lukashenko.
Oh, she put Lukashenko.
Not an A at the end.
Oh, okay. Regime is acting in violation of the UN Convention against Torture. If diplomacy fails, the UK government should submit a case to the International Court of Justice. I mean, who cares? Who gives a fuck?
I mean, yeah. This is the thing. This is why China gets away with.
They literally LARP as the Soviets.
I mean, yeah. This is why China get away with so much, because most of the shit they do is within their own borders.
Yeah.
And you're right. Like, why would anyone care?
I mean,
it only really matters when they start invading Poland, as we learned in World War II.
One of the biggest problems is, and I'm going to reiterate this because I did a massive rant stream about this not so long ago. We're still giving 0.5% of our GDP foreign aid budget to nations like Pakistan, India, and Israel.
Well, we give some to China as well.
We give to China. This is the clever thing. They removed it from the foreign aid and they put it out in international development, which is a fund, which is a separate thing. But we're giving giving millions to Israel for foreign aid. Like,
yeah, I pointed this out to some of my leftist friends, and they're like, "Oh my god, it's a travesty that we're cutting foreign aid." I'm like, "Yeah, you know, a lot of that goes to Israel, right?"
yeah,
And they were just like, "Oh, they can cut that then." It's like, thought so.
yeah.
Oh, like this, it's like, oh, foreign aid, we're cutting it. It sounds bad. It's like, nah, well, no, not most of it. All of it's useless. All of it is completely useless and needs to go. So
Yeah, but foreign aid is split up into several categories, and one of the largest one is military. So effectively, we're giving weapons to China and their allies, when ultimately our biggest rival, if we want to be honest here, in the Anglo-speaking world, that is China. I mean, it's not Russia or Belarus or any other made-up fucking notions of a tyrannical state or what have you. It's China, and it's China, and I would not surprise me. I mean, I think it's probably Alex Jones has talked about this, but how effectively the concept of race and identity politics being cemented in American universities over the last couple of years, and for OY in 2016, was directed by the Chinese state. It would not surprise me if it was a massive site. And we know that Chinese agents are involved with like the Democrat Party, because
not just the Democrats. They keep finding them in the military. As a Chinese person in the military, like 9 times out of 10, they're literally a spy, and they keep finding them.
Yeah. Wasn't there like one of
actually
staff members who was like banging a Chinese agent?
They did. Oh well, yeah, Louis Levi covers it
there's
quite
also
a bit.
the fact that, and also ironically, in the U.S., the country that steals the most information from us for our military weapons isn't even China; it's Israel. Like, they keep on stealing our blueprints and then selling them to China.
Is it technically stealing if it's voluntarily donating?
No, they're not. We're not voluntarily donating that stuff. They're actually stealing the blueprints.
I tell you what, people watching on streaming, my guests here have. When I ever do get into politics, and if I simp,
yes, please
Israel,
go ahead and disavow me.
If I go and simp for Israel in the most embarrassing way possible, you have the right to shoot me in the back of the head. I swear to God.
Yes, sir, Mr. Kennedy, sir.
Well, you shoot me. What was it? Twice in the head and one in the neck. Take out the driver in front.
I'll make sure it looks.
So they're
like
gonna get to see
suicide,
Mrs. AI try and put AI's head back together in
put the skull back together
for some reason.
God.
That was really fucked. When you watch it in slow motion, it's really fucked up.
Yep, I've seen it.
It really is.
It's really fucked up.
I don't. What ammo was he using? How did it take off half his head?
I wonder. Was it 50? I mean, let's be honest.
No way he used 50 cal.
It was like.
I don't know.
Not 50 cal. I think it was.
No, 50 millimeters. Not 50 cal. 50 millimeters.
Oh mate, even that's big.
No, I think it was a 223 round.
Well, what rifle was he using?
Well, the official is that Italian.
It was an Italian. Yeah, it was some sort of Italian marksman rifle.
.308. I don't know. I'm surprised that took off half his head.
It's a 308 Winchester.
I mean, let's be honest. Well, it was fired from the grassy knoll.
The ballistics of a 308 Winchester is actually really deadly.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not denying it's deadly. I'm just surprised it took off his fucking skull.
I think that's the rifle. Is that
the rifle? It's the Carcano one, all right.
I think the reason why the 308s could take off a lot of his heads, Hayran, is because the bullet actually tumbles a lot instead of going straight.
I mean, I'm just going to be honest with you. I do not believe. Number one, I do not believe it was. Lee Harvey Oswald that did it, and I also do not believe that the shooter was from from a building. I reckon it was from the grassy knoll. Personally,
I don't know enough about the situation, to be honest.
Because number one, if I was going to assassinate a president in that sort of thing, I would do it from a position of very much complete cover, but also less chance of missing. Because one of the problems when you're thinking about shooting a moving target from an angle where you're completely not level, and I mean they managed to get 3 shots in the guy
I thought it
on
was
a
only
moving
2.
target. So you would have to. I mean, you'd have to have like the best guy, the best sniper in the world.
I would love for us to go and carry on this conversation, but keep in mind the NSA exists.
Okay.
And I don't want to be visited tomorrow night.
They'll find the Confederate flag and everything in your room. That's it. You're done. Okay. Yes. Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah, then I'll have to go and blame. No, it's this dude in the West Country. It wasn't me. Help.
This dude in the West. So let's reframe this. If I was in Minecraft, I wouldn't climb atop the bell tower. I would go along the grassy bank that I built out the back of my castle, because there would be a wider scope and less chance of misses. Especially if you're aiming for a creeper headshot.
That exploded.
Which exploded because creeper. Because when you're taught to when you do any shooting in Minecraft at creepers, you're always told to aim for the center mass, because that's the most likely spot you're going to hit that will explode in creepers terms, that is. And so when you're aiming for the creeper's head, it's very risky because there's obviously a chance you might miss. And the fact that you can get 3 shots off on the same sort of roughly same target would suggest that you wouldn't. You'd have to be like the best sniper in the world, or one of the best in the world.
Well, yeah, because he was renowned for being not a particularly good marksman, wasn't he?
He was average on his in his military.
Yes, world renowned for being average.
Yeah, exactly.
The most boring man in the United States Special Forces.
And then suddenly, before he even got to court and it was to be open, he was again shot. The Minecraft character was shot walking out.
Yeah, he was whacked by the mafia.
Whacked by the mafia.
Yeah, he was hit. He was hit by the Red Mafia. Yeah.
So what happened to the Minecraft mafia guy? What happened to him? Because I'm presuming he went to prison.
No, he didn't. He didn't do anything to him.
What? Jack Ruby.
That just makes me think that he was hired or something. Yeah.
The thing is, as well, do you know?
I
like
think the
that
Dallas
camera
police
angle,
basically just thought, well, he killed a criminal, so who cares?
Do you not think the camera angle was like pretty perfect for what was going
Jack
on
Ruby
as well?
was in prison.
What was it the Zapruder film?
Well, the famous one, whatever it's called, yeah.
Like
that was kind of prime location for seeing the whole thing, wasn't it?
It would have also been. Well, keep in mind that Zapruder was just, some guy.
Yeah.
Sure, it's a prime location to go and see the entire event, but it's also a prime location to just see the presidents drive by and have a home video.
Yeah.
So no, I don't think Zapruder was involved with this.
Do you remember the guy? The guy. There was a chap there as well that was caught on the Zapruder film, but also like from other photographers there, who was he was like a guy dressed in black suit, black long jacket, and he had, because it was a really hot sunny day, what stood out was he had an umbrella, and while the president. While the Minecraft president was being creepered several times in the head, he put up an umbrella, a black umbrella. Now people always thought, because there was an investigation done by prosecutors after, and they tried to hunt this guy down because they thought that it was maybe like a signal or something, or it was something. Because I will say with the Zapruder film,
that person disappeared off the face of the earth.
Did he?
I know who you're talking about. Yeah, we've never found the person.
No, they thought they found him, and then it was like never really confirmed. I mean, the whole thing about that film, when you watch it, it's weird. It's like if I was walking down the street and you had all those weird characters there, like a film and like a rando guy with a fucking umbrella and everything, I'd be thinking to myself, this is weird. This is a trap. I shouldn't be going down here. This is weird. And also what makes it even weirder is this is like a grassy knoll. You have a park bit, you have like the majority of people are all stood up in the sun-covered area, and then when you go down the shaded bit where the grassy knoll was, there was hardly anybody around apart from those few weird characters, and it just seemed really, really strange. Like when you watch the footage back, it was really weird. It, and to be honest, I know I go on harp on about conspiracy theories and everything, like aliens and all that, but I have to say the Minecraft Kennedy stuff is the one that I genuinely believe is a conspiracy. I definitely think there's something in that. But anyway, we'll leave it at tonight, shall we? Leave it for tonight because it's 2 hours now. Thank you, Hayran and Chicago. Meeting in Chicago for joining us tonight for the weeks of Blob Watch. I will not be back next week because I'll probably be in the Prevent program.
You will also be on the run from the NSA for talking about Minecraft president being Treebeard again. As I've said, they can always come to my house, but I will turn my house into Waco. I've got enough stuff in the garage to do that. So last I checked, that didn't work very well for Waco.
Well, if I'm going to go out, I'm going to go out on my own terms.
Fair enough.
I'm not going out and be humiliated by the local BBC in my area. They're a bunch of fucking retards, and I dislike them. I know some of them personally, and I dislike them even more. So I'm not giving them the satisfaction reporting on my trial. Yeah, that's right. I'm gonna go out with a bang in Minecraft with creepers. Okay, that's enough Fed posting for tonight.
Boy.
On a serious note, I will not be back for probably a couple of weeks because I've got some heavy workload coming up next week and the week after. But the week after that, I'm on holiday, so I'll try and do something then. So it might be a bit of a wait, guys. But until then, thank you everyone for joining, and I will see you all later.